share my webcam. So again, welcome all. In today's session, we will talk about optimization. So to do this, we will start with an already made project, which is a draft version of the project. And we will see basically how to transform this kind of path and flow to something more reliable and accessible like this one. Both of those do the same thing. This one has some better optimization as well as some change in the dialogue. So yeah, hopefully you will learn some good tips here. The main project is about this website. I went through, I think that was something on product end. And basically it's for, in the case of making a skill of that, it's basically help the user to discover their burnout index. So how it works? It's basically a web page with some survey. So you will have to ask some question. You have like a level of 0 to 6. For most of the question, the answer are the same. So you have to choose between all those. That's the first pattern we should think of, because that's something we may not want to say for each question to the user. Maybe we don't want to Alexa to say that kind of answer each time we ask a question to the user. So that's something we want to handle. Let me just finish this survey so you can see pretty much all the questions. So we have a series of 10 questions first, and then it's more about the demographics. Sorry. You can put the age, and do you have any report? And this is what you will have as a result. You can, the results are from 0 to 6. That can be a burnout risk, a low burnout risk. That can be a medium or a high level of risk. And for that, you will have a little sentence here according to the results. So basically here, what we want to do is to be able to do pretty much the same thing, but voice only, as well as giving the results. So calculate the index and giving the corresponding results to the user. So the first thing you may want to do is mostly this kind of thing. So we will have basically all the question, and the one after the others. We can use a score to track the score, because as you can see, the index is basically based on the score of the answer. So you have 0 to 6, and then you will have to divide that at the end. So I'm only using 8 questions here, and that's also why in the results I'm only dividing that by 8. But yeah, the results should be pretty much the same. I just don't want to populate any data in there on their index. That's also why we are not using an API call in there. But of course, that's also something we can do. Regarding today's project, it's more about optimization. So that's not something I will talk about. It's just that, yeah, if you're interested in that, that's totally something you can do. They do have an API, and you can pass the answer to help them to populate their database. Anyway, so on the draft version, what we have first is basically we do differentiation regarding the session number. So if it's the first session, we are welcoming the user, and we will basically explain what the skill is all about. In case of it's a returning user, we just say welcome back. This is something we can optimize also by, for example, because as at the end of the skill, we are asking for demographics information. If that's the same user, this part is not mandatory as we already have all those information. So it do not make real sense to ask that again on each after each survey. And of course, the main goal here is to have the user launch the skill multiple times, let's say once a week, for example. So we want to make everything that will help them to fill that survey the best way possible. And that includes not asking them every time their like personal information. So again, that's something we want to have in mind. Then what we have is we are basically setting the score to 0. So that's the initial setting block. Score to 0, retry. Well, basically, sorry, we're not going to use that. That will be on the other one. So we have a score. We set that to 0. That's the default. And then we go through the first question. We have I find it difficult to relax after a day of work. And then we have another speak block giving all the available answer. So you can answer with never, a few times, once a month or less, etc. The thing here is, again, we are giving that information each time, which is not a real good thing to do. Otherwise, the user will be quickly bored if each time we speak out a question, we also share all that information. So an option can be, well, let's send a card on the Alexa app, for example. So they will have the title as well as the question or the answer. But again, maybe we don't want to send a card for each question. It will most likely fill the activity on the Alexa app, and it will basically just spamming the user with this sort of card. And again, that's not the best thing to do. Regarding the intent we are going to use, that's a simple one, I think, and that's the answer slot, icing off it's or simply the slot. And the slot example are, or value are 0, never, 1, a few times a year or less. We use some synonyms here, like instead of a few times a year or less, the user will be able also to just answer by or with few times a year. Same for this other one, once a month, a few times a month, once a week, few times a week, a few times a week, or the last one is every day, every days and every day. And we are using synonyms just to basically grab the value here. That's an easy trick to just increment the score value. So again, if the user said never, the slot value will be equal to 0. So we will add that to the score variable. And then on the next question, if the user says answer once a week, we will add 4, for example. So that's again an easy way to handle that. And yeah, by the way, this is something you can use in like quiz and again survey or form. That's something that will be useful also in that case. If the user do not answer with one of the proposed answer or valid answer, we are using the else and saying, sorry, not sure it was part of the available answers. I will repeat that for you. You can also check the available choices in the card we've just sent in your Alexa app. So that's the main thing. That's the main flow. But again, that's a lot of blocks, and we definitely can optimize that. And for the end, that's all the convo from the website. So we need 3 quick questions about your demographics. So how do you identify yourself? Available answer are female, male, other, or I'd rather not to say. And we do have the identify intent. I'm a male, female, or they can also answer by I'd rather not to say or other. And that's pretty much the same thing. So they can, if they say woman or man, that's the value of the slot will be female or male, other, or I'd rather not to say, I don't want to say, or I don't want to answer. The value would be I'd rather not to say. The last slot we are using is for the age. So how old are you? Number and intent. And we are using number, years old. So whatever age it is. I have reports. That's for the next one. Here, basically, we are using the same intent. So that's why it's called number and not age, because we are also using that intent for this question. Do you have any direct or indirect report? Actually, that's this one. How many direct or indirect report at your work do you have? And because we are also grabbing a number, it makes no real sense to have an intent only for that. We can use the same. So that's the number intent. And instead of having duplicate intent here, we just use other utterance to be sure to grab both of those. So the age, so again, 20-year-old, as well as the number of report. I have 2 reports. I have 1, for example, or 2 reports, or 1 report. For the age, we also have almost 20, around 40, or just 41, or I'm 41 years old, or I'm 40. And that will do the trick for both of those. We also use some default yes/no intent. Not a big deal here, nothing much to say. And again, at the end, the score, the calculation for the score, we are using a set block, and the set block will be score divided by 8. And here we are debugging the Burnout Index value is score. And that's pretty much it. So the first thing you may want to check in that kind of skill is look for any patterns. And we got a big one here, obviously. So instead, why not, instead of using all those, why not trying to just reuse the same one? And by that, maybe create a subflow just to handle basically all the question. So even visually, it will be easier to read. So that's what I've done on the next project, or the updated project right there. So as you can see, the beginning is the same. Pretty much, we have the session check, welcome back, or welcome if the user, it's the first time the user will launch the skill. The dialogue is a bit different here. As we don't want to, right from the beginning, we don't want to tell the user what's the available answer will be and stuff like that. Otherwise, that will be a lot of information for the user to remember. So we want that to be a bit more easier for them. So we are just saying, we will ask you about emotion and perception regarding your current job. This shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. And then we have a prompt, are you ready to start? In that block, we are setting all the variable back to 0 to be sure. And as you can see already, we've added some variable. So it's not only the score now, it's also the answer as well as the count. And you will see in the subflow why we are using this. So again, a basic prompt. If this is a yes, we continue. If this anything else than a yes, then it's a goodbye. No problem. Come back whenever you like. And that's where we are going to do the main or the most of the change. It's in the question flow. As you can see here, it's the same calculation in the same set block. We have just finished the, we have added the different results, and so response from the corresponding score. So we've added this if block and with this condition. So 2 conditions here. If the score is lower than 2.51, or if the score is lower than 4.51. Anything else, we will go to the I result. Again, the if block will run in that order from top to bottom. So if it's 4, this one will not be triggered. The condition will not be correct, so we will go there. If it's more than 4, both of those conditions, more than 4.51, both of those conditions will not be correct, so we will go to the else. And exactly the same for the below 2.51. So that's for the results. Let's dive in the big part, which is the question flow. Don't worry, take time to load, but it's not a huge one. Actually, let me just hit refresh. I think we will gain some time here. Oops. Have to wait. Okay, here we go. So, oops. Sorry about that. Again, dual screen and screen sharing is not the best thing to do. Still didn't find any great solution for that. Still working on it. So here is our question flow. And it can be impressive, but if you do remember, this will replace all this up to the last one right there. So it's not that much. And we added a lot of configuration in the dialogue also. So here's the thing. The first thing we will say to the user is right after they do accept to answer to the survey, we will have a great last thing before we start. At any time during the test, if you want me to remind you the available answers, just ask for it. And then we'll start with the first assumption, so or the first question. what we have here is now we are using the count variable. And we are doing this simply to set the value for the question variable. That's also a new variable. And this will basically allow us to use only this block instead of the 8 other block. And this block will be, it's more like a dynamic block if you want. Everything here will be updated on each loop. And that's also why we have the count. So first we go there, we are setting the first question, and then we are adding the score value. So on the first score will be 0 and answer will be 0. So 0, 0. And we are setting the count to 1. Question, so that's the variable. We've just said that here. So the first question is, I find it difficult to relax after a day of work. And we have a little thing here, which is the if block. And this if block will basically check the count value. So you do remember count is 1. We set that, and then we increment count with +1. So now count is 2, which means that if it's the first question, then we will say the available answer, but only for the first question, which is way more practical or efficient for the user. So they will have the available answer only on the first question, not the other. And the other thing is, as we tell the user before beginning, they can ask for the answer if they don't remind that. So what we have next to the available answer, we have the choice block with the answer intent we've already made. So I think, and all the available answer, as well as the available answer intent. And this one will help the user to trigger with those utterances, trigger this speak block, which is basically saying again all the available answer. So never a few times a year or less, once a month, etc. So at any time the user, so after each question, if the user didn't remember, they can say the answer again, remind me my choice, what are my choices, remind me the available answers, give me the answers, and all this kind of stuff. Of course, you can add more utterances, but those should work for that particular project. The last thing we have here is we are using the else. We can also use, instead of the else pass, we can use a reprompt. But here we are using the else, and the else is linked to that flow. And we are doing this. That's something a user asked me, I think it was yesterday. It's basically a way to handle multiple reprompt, because of course you can already do that. Again, if you basically set a reprompt, you can add up to 3 reprompts. But this will not allow you to do any action regarding on which reprompt the user is. And that's why here we are using the else instead, to be able to add a bit of logic. And that's what we have in the reprompt flow. So if we click here, you can see that we have, in that subflow, we have the retry, and we are setting the retry to 1. So each time the user will hit the else. So basically each time the user will not say anything that will match the utterance we have in the answer intent, they will go right there. And on the first time, we will say, sorry, not sure it was part of the available answers. I will repeat that for you. And we have the question. So again, that's the main question. And then we will then give them the available answer. And if the user did not answer after that with a correct answer, they will go back to the else port, going into that subflow. The retrieve will be no equal to 2. And because of that, we will then send the card, but only when the user did not reply correctly twice. So instead of spamming the user each time with the card, we are doing that only if the user is kind of lost. And the card will have the question. We are using the variable, so the title will correspond to the correct question. And the card text will be always the same, so we don't need to use a variable right there. So that's the little trick to not spam the user with card and better handle the reprompt, basically. So let's go back to the home. Oh, no, should have go to the question, but. All right, so that's the reprompt. Again, the user didn't answer correctly, else first time we tell the user the question again, as well as all the available answer, and we're going back to the choice block. So that will be the only prompt they will have, and they can answer that right again. If they don't answer that correctly a second time, back to the reprompt, and then we send the card, and that's it. So that's how the loop will work. So first time the user will have the little help here, and then at the end, so if the user answer, we are going back to the question, the main question if block, and as we have incremented the count value each time, we are now on the count equal to, and count equal to, that's the second question. We are setting the question variable to the second question value and back to the test block, incrementing, putting the score for whatever answer it was. And then we will go, we will speak out the question and go straight, because count is not equal to 2 anymore. We will go straight to the answer block or the choice block. If the user do not remember the available question again, or the available answer again, they can ask for that, and we will redirect them to that block. You can answer with, etc. In that block, and that's what we are not using the same block. It's just at the end, we are adding this regarding the assumption. So that's the current question, which answer best fit? So we will redirect them straight to the choice block, and they can answer right after that. So basically right after asking for the available answer, they will hear the question again, and they can make their choice. So let's presume we've done that for all the count, and we are now at the else. So basically we have the last question, 8, going here, everything goes well, and count has been incremented by 1, and count is now equal to 9. So we are right there. We are going back to the if, and because count is equal 9, that's the end of the question. And we're going back to the finish. And finish is, to finish, we need just 3 quick questions about your demographics. And that's what we are doing here. So that's no change here. That's what we've seen already. How do you identify yourself? How old are you? How do you have any direct or indirect report at works? And if it's a yes, we have that question, how many? If it's a no, we're going straight to the last confirmation. Thank you for taking the time to answer this question. Should be those question, I think, not sure. let's take a look at your burnout index, and then we are exiting the question flow. Back to the home, and right after the question, we have the score, so the score calculation, and then we are redirecting the user based on the score to the corresponding speak block, basically. So again, just a before and after. The best thing here is mostly the fact that we get rid of the card blocks and each time, as well as Alexa saying the answer for each of those. Of course, we can also do the same thing here by just removing that. But that means that we will have to handle, if the user do not remember the available answer, we'll have to handle that. So that can be in the choice block or in a command, for example. And then after the command and the flow, they will go back to that block. But again, that's a lot of block. Yeah, same for the else. I think we do a better job by doing this in a subflow and using this flow instead of copying all the block, pasting all the block each time. So basically, that's all the same thing here. And by the way, that's also the else flow, for example. So again, the reprompt flow. That's something you can copy and paste in any of your projects. So that can look at a lot of work at first, but keep in mind that that's some stuff you can reuse in a lot of your projects. So basically, this is a multiple reprompt thing or reprompt with cards thing, for example, and that can be useful for other of your skill. Same for the question. Again, if you have a kind of skill using survey or like a quiz skill, this one is working well because the questions are a bit different, but are not different. But if the questions are different, you can also, of course, instead of using the variable for only the question, you can also use that for the answer. You will just have to use some code, but as you can see here, it's all code free, so you don't even need any code in that typical project, which is great for beginner users or user that start with Voiceflow and wants to do this kind of thing. So, and I do know that that's a kind of a recurrent ask. How do I make a survey? How I can do grab information from the user and deal with that? That's a way to handle that and generate a conversation from that. Yeah, so what we can do right now is basically try that.
Welcome back. We will ask you about emotions and perceptions regarding your current job. This shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. Are you ready to start?
So I got the welcome back because I've already tested that. So my station is now more equal to 1, which is good. Are you ready to start? Yes.
Great. Last thing before we start, at any time during the test, if you want me to remind you the available answers, just ask for it. Okay, here is the first assumption. I find it difficult to relax after a day of work. You can answer with never, a few times a year or less, once a month or less, a few times a month, once a week, a few times a week or every day.
So here you can see that's the first question. So we just greeting the user with just letting them know that they can ask for the answer if they don't remind that. We are not, again, because we are sharing with them a lot of information, we want to be sure not to add too much. So just ask for it should be fine. It will be your work to better handle that. So think of the multiple way and the multiple utterances the user will use to basically ask for the answer. And that's what we've done in the intent. So the available answer intent. I surely missed some here because there are only 9, but that's a good start. When you create a project, the best thing is to test it, of course, and also to share that with some other users. So you will have some better feedback, as well as I was answering that, or I was asking for the available answer, but I got nothing. And you will be able to then add the utterance that were used and like train the model or add some information to that model. So that's a good way to just be sure that most of the use case will be handled at least by the intent. The other thing is, here we have a lot of break, as you can see in the convo. We use a lot of break tag just to be sure that the user will get the important information instead of just a blah 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 blah, and then could not separate what's the main information is, how to enter that. So again, that's why we have a lot of break, different one with 1 sec, the other with will be X strong, we got strong. Yeah, just again, something you have to think of when you design the conversation. Do not hesitate to add some pause when you are sharing a lot of information. Exactly the same for, you can answer with never, we got a pause. A few times a year or less, we got a pause. Once a month or less, again a pause, etc. Just otherwise, Alexa will say never, a few times a year or less, once a month or less, a few times a month, and the user will be lost. So again, the design here will be important, and how you are using the SSML tag is also very important. So let's say it's a never for that one.
After a day of work, I feel run down and drained of physical or emotional energy.
So now we are at the second question, and you can see that we don't tell the user the available answer. Just again, because we don't want to have that on each question. That will not be a good thing. But yeah, if it's too early and the user didn't still get all the available answer, we told them, so they can just use like something like remind me the available choices.
You can answer with never, a few times a year or less, once a month or less, a few times a month, once a week, a few times a week or every day. Regarding the assumption after a day of work, I feel run down and drained of physical or emotional energy. Which answer best fits?
So here again, we ask for the available choice. So we give that to the user. And as a reminder, we'll also give it, we also speak the actual question. So it's fresh in their mind. They just have the available answer. They have the question, they can answer right there. So I will do again a never or a few times a year.
I feel less and less connected and engaged with the work I do.
Let's try once a month. I will try
I do not have
pretty
a
much
clear
all
idea
of
of the value and purpose of my job.
them. Never would every day. Yeah, that's.
I am harder and less sympathetic with people than perhaps they deserve.
No, never.
I am worried this job is making me harsher emotionally.
Never. Yeah,
I feel that
you
I
can
am
try the
achieving less
other,
than
but
I
just
should.
I'm a bit lazy here, so I will not. Every day. That's not true.
In my opinion, I'm inefficient in my job.
And again, you can say, okay, remind me the available choice, or I should use another one like, what's my choice? But you got
never. A few times a year or less. Once a month or less. A few times a month. Once a week. A few times a week or every day. Regarding the assumption, in my opinion, I'm inefficient in my job. Which answer best fits?
Let's try this one. We don't have that. A few times a week.
To finish, we need just 3 quick questions about your demographics to provide even more accurate results. How do you identify yourself? Available answers are female, male, other, or I'd rather not say.
For this one, not that much available answer, so that's fine. We can give that answer straight to the user after the question. Not a big deal. So male.
How old are you?
42.
Do you have any direct or indirect reports at work?
Nope.
Thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. Let's take a look at your burnout index. Your burnout index is low. Having a low burnout risk is great. You have the best condition and opportunity to have a great job performance, with great productivity and creativity. Being in this state is highly beneficial for your health indicators. Keep your stress level under control.
And that's it. The next step here will be, as explained on the draft project, a good thing to do is just check if we got any user information, or at least save that. So basically, you can, for example, use a set block here and set the slot value. For example, right there, let's do this. You can also want to populate an API with that. And you know what, we got a bit of time more. We can try to do that all together. So first, let's save, we should save the jar. We should save, so jar is, just to be sure, identify intent, and that identify and not identify. I need to select a variable for that, of course, variable. So we are saving that slot value to the jar variable. We need the age, of course. And we don't have an age variable yet because we are using the number for the report as well as for the age. So that's fine. The thing is, we need to save that value before we are populating it again with the report number. So we will do that. So I think the slot is number. Let's just try that. But I do remind, yeah, that's number. So yeah, we want to copy that, and we will pass that right under the how old are you? We can use both already because the identity is already populated here. So basically, we can use that right there. We are saving identify and number to gender and age. And then we want to save if they do have any direct or indirect report. We don't need that. We only need the value of the report. That will be enough. So let's instead here, we will basically, let's get rid of those, create a new one, remove that one also. And that will be report. And the value will be, again, we need to select a variable, and the value will be number. That way we know that if report is not equal to 0, well, it means they do have any direct or indirect report at work. All right. User save. Let's put that in blue. And yeah, we'll need 2 things. No, just one. So right there, to finish, we need to just 3 questions. Let's add an if condition. And if we do already have any information like the gender or age, then we don't need to ask for that anymore. It will also depend on how you are using that. It can be one device used by multiple users. In that case, you will not do this, of course. This one is most likely for a recurrent user, so a personal use case where the user will use the same device, or not even the same device, but will use the skill as themselves each time. And so that's make more sense than if, again, the device is available in a company, for example. So else will be there, if, and we can check multiple things, but genre will be fine. We can just only check for a genre. So by default, if the user didn't fill any of those, and or at least the genre or the identify slot, the genre will be equal to 0. So that's why they will be redirected to this. So we need that. That's the opposite. And the else. So if genre is not equal to 0, then the user already went through that. So we just need to go right there and give them the result. You can do another. You can do another check right there. So before the report, that's something that might change. Or the age, for example, in the case of the user will use that during multiple year. But for that example, yeah, let's do this, or yeah, that will be fine. But keep in mind that the value that can change is the direct or indirect report. So that's the thing you may want to ask each time. So bypass that, but still ask for the report. That's going to be an option. Let's put that in blue. And that will be returning user. All right. Of course, if you want to go a bit deeper, you can also add on the main flow. You can use the user info block and permission to grab the user email or this kind of stuff. But yeah, again, it will really depend on where and how you are going to use that. On a personal use case, that's something that can be done. Not a good idea to do that if you are using that as more as a self-service a skill where all the collaborator in the company will be able to share that or use that. You want that to be anonymized. So yeah. Last thing, we got 8 minutes to go. So last thing is the API. Let's go for that. So please do not use that until you are really you have a really finished product, because you are populating real database, and that's not a good thing. But anyway, that's the available endpoint, and basically this is what you are sending to the API. So all the result, as well as the gender, the age, direct report, and this kind of stuff. So it's more, this is more when if you want to use that for example, in your company, and you want to help Burnout Index to populate their database with real data. If you're not, instead maybe use your own database and populate that with whatever value you want. That will be a better thing to do in that case. The last thing you may want to also do, instead of just having this as a result, you can see here you have all the stats split in different categories. So exhaustion, cynicism, sorry for the Franglish, depersonalization, self-inefficacy, whatever. And you can see that if you hit the see more, you will have some details on that, and those will change regarding your burnout index. So that may be interesting to handle that. And for example, instead of just giving this, you can maybe, because having Alexa speak out all this may not be the best thing or the best efficient thing to do. But in that case, you can send that as a report using, for example, the SendGrid integration. So the SendGrid API, we got a template for that, and you do a basic template with all this information, so the user can receive a nice looking email with all the information and on what they need to work on. Because again, let me check if I have some example right there. I think I have that. Yes, so that's the thing. So that's some of the text I've saved during my test. And as you can see, regarding the value, those can change. So again, that can be very helpful for people to know on which part or which category they will have to work on to avoid any burnouts. Which hopefully is not my case. I'm good. That's pretty much it. Let's check some. Let's check this chat if we got some question. Not sure if you. I got okay. Joel, you were seeing the last 3 block on the screen. Is that still an issue? Anyway, I will share that with you guys, so you will have access to the template. So no worries if you were only seeing that, for example. It's always a bit tricky. Some user want me to zoom in, some other want all the stuff. So the best thing is play with the template when it's available. Okay, glad to hear that. All good for Joel then. That's it for today's session. I hope this will help you to transform again that or this kind of pattern to maybe a more usable skill and more readable skill. And again, the main thing here is to be able to reuse your project and your flows. So that's a good thing to optimize as soon as you can. And yeah, that's all for me.
Thanks so much, guys. See you guys next week.
See you guys.